It's really great to see you today. I'm so happy that you were able to join us to have a little conversation about your world at Optimizely. And I wonder if you might start out by just introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about what a senior director of marketing ops does at a big company like Optimizely.
Yes, thanks so much for having me, Mitch. My name is Angela Cerrone. I am the Senior Director of Marketing Ops, as you mentioned, at Optimizely. I've been with the company for just about a year. I had my year anniversary last week, so it was pretty exciting. My role actually reports into a go-to-market operations and strategy team at Optimizely, which this is the first role that I've had where I've been able to report into a central ops function versus directly into marketing. Now, with that said, I'm still very close with the marketing team, was just in a marketing leadership meeting last week. So it doesn't take away from my dedication to the marketing team, but it does allow me to have closer relationships with other ops functions such as sales ops, customer success ops, analytics, etc. At Optimizely, I work very closely with the marketing team on campaign operations, as well as working very closely with our sales enablement organization, our solution strategy organization, to define some go-to-market plays that we're looking to target. I also head up part of our data operations team and focus on data quality. So quite a big purview, but it's exciting because everything's changing every day.
Well, I'm definitely going to come back to that data quality piece. I think that's really interesting and something that's top of mind for most marketers. And you are in a role that supports multiple other roles, it sounds like.
That's correct.
So what accountabilities do you have? I mean, do you have any revenue accountability or conversion accountability or anything in your role?
So I would say our accountability is more focused on improving conversion rates, improving revenue in terms of like velocity and things of that nature versus having a revenue number tied to our organization.
Got it. So it's that delta that's important, and that makes a lot of sense.
It's the part that's hard to quantify, really. Yeah.
So when you say go to market, that can mean a lot of things to a lot of in a lot of different organizations. So what does that look like in Optimizely when you're working on go-to-market strategy or supporting go-to-market strategy for sales and marketing? What are some of the levers that you get to pull?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I've actually kind of pondered that myself for a while, because go-to-market in a lot of organizations is really just sales. I look at it as end-to-end, right? Like what's driving revenue from marketing, sales, customer success. And I think when Optimizely talks about go-to-market, it rolls over all of that because you have marketing operations, sales operations, customer success operations all as part of that. When we think about go-to-market sales plays and that component that I mentioned around our solution strategy team, that is also overlapping marketing and sales. So these are plays that we're thinking about from a company perspective of potentially a cross-sell or a competitive play that we want to launch that might have a marketing component, maybe it doesn't. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's how I think about go-to-market as it relates to Optimizely.
It sounds like an "it depends" answer, which is entirely appropriate in this case. I wonder if you could talk to me about the, and this gets really specific all of a sudden, but when you're looking at go-to-market and supporting especially in supporting sales, and all of the things that need to happen for those campaigns to launch and run successfully, what is your stance on personalization? Are you able to, or your sales teams or your marketing teams able to execute a meaningful personalization strategy? And so let me ask that question first. Are you able to do that today?
To some extent, and I think it depends. It's going to be another depends answer. If we're talking about website personalization, I mean, that's what Optimizely offers, right? So there's one component that I would say is where we thrive. Then if you think about data that's feeding from your CRM, that presents another challenge. So if we think about high first name as personalization, and leveraging other, yes, you shake your head. I mean, how many failures have we seen with that approach when people are using tokens from the database? That can be a challenge. So that's top of mind for myself and my organization. But in terms of other personalization, we have our SDR organization leveraging other technology that might help them with some personalization as it relates to persona, meaning like data that someone might have on LinkedIn. What are their interests? That level of personalization. I believe the teams are using some AI to help with that. It might be manual personalization that they're doing, right? Because they want to have that one-to-one connection and really connect with the person.
Yes, and of course, you guys have website personalization down to a science since it's your product. So I would fully expect that. And when we're talking about outbound campaigns or even inbound campaigns, you've just encapsulated, I think, the tactics that everyone's looking at. And of course, it's very exciting to think about AI being able to ingest vast quantities of unstructured data and then make sense out of it and spit out the other end some awesome way to personalize a message to a high value prospect. But I haven't seen that yet. Have you?
No, not tangibly in front of me. I've seen blurts of it from other places, whether it's shared data, but not done by me or someone close to me. I think it's a very interesting one, and it's a conversation that we were having while I was in New York last week around like, how do you do that at scale, right? You might be able to be successful one person at a time or with small sets of data, but trying to do that at scale, I think, is where the challenge lies.
Yeah, and I think there's also a financial and opportunity cost calculation there about if what's the ultimate value of what's the ACV you're chasing, and is it big enough to support a real manual effort like that, or do you are you really pushing to be able to scale for it to be worthwhile? And I think different companies are going to have different answers to that question. A little bit different question on personalization then. For Optimizely's personalization, website personalization, it's, as I understand it, it's based on behavior, user behavior, and being able to dynamically serve alternate pages and see which one converts best. And it's a great approach. But of course, it doesn't really work for sending, outbound campaigns. And so, absent that kind of behavior, what is meaningful personalization in your experience? I mean, just high first name isn't doing it, obviously. I noticed we went to the same college really doesn't do anything. Maybe I see your company just won an award for X could be something, but have you thought through kind of what things can we personalize on that would grab somebody's attention, that would let them know that I'm actually thinking about them, that they're not just getting a generic marketing message, that I'm actually thinking about them singularly as an organization. Have you done any work on that?
I haven't, but I'll speak to that as a person that receives emails and marketing materials like that. I find that the ones that call out things that are not work related are the ones that grab my attention, if that makes sense, right?
Interesting.
Like I'll have folks send me pictures of dogs. They know I'm a passionate French bulldog owner and lover. Those ones grab my attention versus someone that says, "Oh, I see you were a student at Daniel Webster College." And some of the ones that have big failures are when they call out Daniel Webster College in a positive light, yet they don't realize the college has closed down. And it's quite funny. I'm like, you really did your research, didn't you? So those ones, like, I think people need to be very careful with what they just grab from tools that are out there, right? That research does stand out on its own.
Laziness will be punished.
Mm-hmm. I do want to call out Shaf, who is our CMO at Optimizely, received this incredible, and of course, I'll never remember the organization's name as we're talking, but he received this incredible poster. And within the poster, it was kind of these geometric shapes, abstract. And one of the shapes was made up of words. And it had this whole paragraph all about him. And it was so personalized. We were talking about it because we all read it together, and it really just stood out. So, but that to me was not necessarily something that was automated. It would be very hard to automate that type of production because of how detailed it got in terms of Schaff came from, he started a company called NewsCred and changed the name to Welcome. And Welcome is what Optimizely had acquired a couple of years ago. And it had like storylines about that. So it was a very interesting one. So it had us thinking, like, how do you do that? And how do you do that at scale? And not necessarily thousands of accounts, but the target accounts that you want to speak to, right? The ones that are going to drive those higher deals, and the customers that you want to have as part of your list.
Yes, it's a fascinating example. I'd love to see that poster. And did you guys end up engaging with that vendor in any way?
So it was just last week that we were all in New York for a meeting, and he shared it with us. So as of right now, I don't think so, but that doesn't mean that that's not going to happen. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I want to shift a little bit into data quality, and its importance in your day to day. You mentioned that's one of the things that you're looking at carefully. What are some of the key challenges you guys have around, not just the data engineering piece, but what do we do with this data, and what business functions is our data actively supporting?
I think that's a loaded question. I'll tackle it and then we can break it down further. So we've launched a formal effort with a team dedicated to data quality, data enrichment, and then list building for our strategic initiatives. Within that, when we think about data quality, we think about hierarchy. How do these accounts roll into one another? Along with customer account data management, making sure that the customer account addresses match what's supposed to be on the order form, etc. There's also the component of territory planning and territory management related to data quality, right? So if we have the wrong address, it's going to align with the wrong territory, causing downstream effects. So this is kind of tying back to your question. There's, I just talked about a couple of different areas of the business: customer success, sales, order management. So data rolls across all the full organization. There's also the component around, do we have the right accounts in our Salesforce instance? So we're a Salesforce in Marketo shop. So do we have the right accounts? Are they properly tagged with ICP or target account hierarchy in there? As well as, do we have the right personas? So now I'm going down multiple levels here for you, but you can see where I'm going, that there's the data enrichment piece, which is a component of incoming data enrichment, making sure the data is healthy when it comes in the system, because that feeds all the way through to someone becoming a customer. I look at it as we need to resolve the current, we have a bunch of data in our Salesforce instance that came from multiple acquisitions, which creates an unwell database, which we're working through, right? So the time it takes to clean up the data is very challenging. And that's why we're trying to put practices in place to capture healthy data right from the onset, while we work through to clean up the data that had come in other ways. So to answer your question, it impacts all of the business. Marketing is impacted, because if we don't have the right accounts and personas for contacts in the database, we can't target the right campaigns from a marketing perspective. Now, that doesn't limit our SDRs from doing outbounding to net new accounts, but it is better for us to present those accounts from our CRM.
You mentioned that you are working on ensuring that when the data is initially ingested, it is accurate. Can you dig in a little bit about what you're actually doing to accomplish that?
Yeah, so there's so much that we're doing, but baby steps. So in order to, and I use this reference a lot, stop the bleeding, because we need to start somewhere, we've implemented manual data validation. So a net new account comes in from a lead conversion. We have a team that is reviewing that data to make sure that it's accurate for company size, revenue, location, all of the things that impact downstream as we think about segmenting the data. I should also call out that we do have a process to enrich net new contacts that come into the database, that MQL, which most likely convert and create a net new account. So that will be net new accounts are coming from the data that's enriched, but we also have that level of validation to ensure that it's accurate. So we are also in the process of implementing a new improved waterfall data enrichment strategy, which will allow us to get really granular in terms of which region has the best data vendors and that we can partner with. So we can structure data based on region and have a specific hierarchy of prioritization for the vendors. So we did approach it with the manual piece, and I actually still believe that no matter how much automation we'll have, we'll need that level of manual overview on some cases, because there's things that we can find in a Zoom Info or a 6sense or Dun & Bradstreet, but then when the user gets in there, the person validating the data, they might learn from a person, like our SDR organization might uncover something different. And so it is very important to have that layer of manual data correction as necessary.
You mentioned data enrichment a few times, and I'm curious to know what kinds of data points are you thinking of as enrichment? For example,
Sure.
Are you looking at organizational connections, right? This person belongs in this department, which sits under that department, which is adjacent to another department. Are you looking at those kinds of things, or different things?
Baby steps, Mitch, baby steps. I would love to get to that level that you just described. Right now, we're focusing on demographic data on accounts and contacts, meaning industry, employee size, revenue, job title would be something that we care about from a person level, department, which I think would tie into being able to visualize that kind of layered effect. We're also looking at, a data point that's really important to us that, we try to solve for is marketing team size, looking at that helps us understand the marketing team maturity as well. And that's not an easy data point to come across. But those are the things that we're thinking about first. And then as we continue to mature this data enrichment strategy, we would look at things like you're saying. That will help us really dive into the personas within an organization. And do we have the right buying committee for each of our products? Because I'm not sure if I mentioned this in the last couple of minutes, but around we have multiple products and we look to cross-sell the products. And so a buyer of product A might not be the buyer of product B. So how do we make sure that we get the right people in our database, getting them aware of Optimizely and what we offer?
Thank you for that answer on what constitutes data enrichment. Are you at the point, or are you driving towards a point where you'll be enriching your CRM data with data points that directly play into personalization?
No, that's not on my list of my now, next, later. That's not there. That doesn't mean it won't be at some point. I think it's a very valid point. I love that thought, is like that could be super incredible for our sales motions and marketing motions. Is how do we get a level of personalized data in CRM so we can use that for outbound or calling, and it gives the SDRs some data points about a person. Is that how you're thinking about it?
That's one level. Another level is at the account level. Are there things that we can learn about an account that would help us to personalize our outreach to individuals working at that account?
Yeah,
For
that's
example, maybe your if your offering depends on certain other pieces of software being in the target company stack, or maybe knowing whether or not this company is using a competitor or using some other technology that integrates really well with your offering. All of those might be ways to personalize at the CRM level, at the account level.
So we have those data points. We do use technologies to help us uncover tech stack, and sales teams are using them. I didn't actually associate that with personalization, but I see where you're going there. And I think that there could be, I was thinking more along the lines of what you had referenced earlier around like what awards has the company won from that perspective, because those are good talking points and good connection points. But from personalization, from a competitive and tech stack perspective, we do have mechanisms to capture that that are not, well, I would say they're part of the data enrichment, but they're done with different tools than the tools that I'm considering.
And in your experience, has that account level data enrichment or personalizations, has that ever been effective for you? Have you seen that work? Is that data around, tech stack and so forth actually making a meaningful dent in the effectiveness of the campaigns that use it?
I would say yes. I don't have quantitative data to give you here, but yes, from the perspective of it's helping us identify accounts to target for some of these strategic plays that I had mentioned. And it's proving to be valid because the talking points are there when the reps are having those conversations. Also around the data vendors and the tech stack, we leverage that data to help us understand digital maturity. So we look at different tech stacks that the different technologies that they have, and then we rate them based on the technology that they have in their marketing and revenue ops repertoire.
That falls under what I would call signal proxies. So a proxy for maturity is how many people in a marketing team, or having these vendors shows that you're a sophisticated user of that class of solution versus another company that has cruder tools. So just directly, it may not mean that much, but it could have implications for targeting. Is that what you mean?
That's exactly what I mean. And I like how I like the term you used.
Thank you. There are lots of companies out there who, for many years, have been leveraging intent or purchase intent data. And there are several vendors out there like Sixth Sense and Demandbase and Bombora who have built very successful businesses around this intent data. And I'm curious, I believe you guys are using this kind of offering, and I'm curious, how valuable has it been for you?
We're actually in the process of refreshing our Sixth Sense. I'm calling it a Sixth Sense reboot, to be honest with you. And so really thinking about how we leverage Sixth Sense, the intent data that's provided, the account profile fit that's provided in the scoring. So I can't really speak to the history because we weren't over the last 12 months, we really haven't been leveraging the platform and the insights as much as we could have. As we move forward, I see a world where the insights will continue to help our SDRs learn which accounts do have and which ones are in the right buying stage. I see real value in these technologies, like you said, Sixth Sense, Demandbase. There's a bunch of them out there in what they're able to uncover and surface for sales engagement prioritization. And I have a real great vision for us in 2024 as we relaunch and reboot our Sixth Sense enablement.
You mentioned that you'd be feeding this data to your SDR team, presumably for them to then validate and dig into what does that intent actually mean. So one of the things that I'm always curious about is when you're using platforms that rely on content consumption as the primary behavior signaling intent, how does it help you get to the right person? Does it help you at the person level or more at the account level?
It's more at the account level. It does help with some kind of regional highlights, so you can get a sense of where a person that might have higher activity with our content or website. And then we look to empower our team to go start kind of hunting, right? They can determine, could that person be someone that they can connect with on LinkedIn or another type of platform. But yeah, I think that's a very good point that you call out. Is it's very hard to get to the person level intent data because of privacy.
Unless they are in some way signed up or subscribed for you, and therefore their data is first party.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So trying to seek net new contacts based on intent is a challenge.
A lot of organizations, in fact, I would say most organizations, have a MarTech stack that's been stitched together over the course of years. And some of them are put together in a way that they are very effective, some not so much. And what we've seen be successful is MarTech stacks, or really any technology stack that's been built over time with a guiding strategy. So I'm curious, how do you guys look at this at Optimizely, and what's been your approach?
Yeah, I think MarTech platforms are, they're the foundation of launching and marching towards the strategy of the organization. So I think you just acknowledged it. The strategy is the key component to a MarTech stack. Me being at Optimizely for the last year, coming into the organization and understanding what the tech stack was as it sat when I joined, helped me understand kind of the methodology that the team had been marching to over time. And through the last year, we've taken a step back and said, okay, did these technologies all make sense for our business and where we want to go in 2024, 2025? Because I think being around technology in the marketing space for the last 10 years, I've seen all sorts of things. I've seen things that were bought as shelfware. I've seen things that were bought and not implemented properly. So, my approach is analyzing, was that when this was purchased, what was the reason it was purchased? Was it implemented properly? Do we have the proper team members that are power users of the technology? Because that impacts the success. So those are things that I think about with the tech stack. I think you can reignite if it's been stitched together poorly, really finding that power user, identifying the strategy. I mentioned our Sixth Sense reboot. It's an opportunity for us to think differently about how we leverage Sixth Sense and build that confidence within the organization. So tech stacks can be all over the place, like you said, but if you take them and you really think about them as tools to help you execute the overall company and team strategies, you can be really successful with whatever combination that you have. I want to make one comment. I think a lot of organizations are looking at cutting costs, and I am a big proponent of cutting costs. But I would say to other ops professionals, don't cut costs at the sake of losing the abilities that you need to be able to execute your role. So I've seen a couple of instances where teams have cut costs, implemented a technology because it promised to do all the things the other tool had been doing better at a less cost, and that has fallen flat, and it causes the teams a lot of frustration, a lot of challenges with time, troubleshooting. So really think about it, and when something is flagged in front of you for much less cost, ask if that's actually going to save you time, or is it going to create more of a challenge?
If it looks too good to be true, it probably is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, Angela, thank you so much. This has been extremely interesting and valuable for me, and I'm sure it will be for everyone else who's listening. Any final thoughts that you'd like to leave us with?
So in any organization that I've been in, I've found that it's not perfect. Like, you're not going to come in, it's not going to be like roll out the red carpet and all of the systems function properly. There's documentation everywhere. You know exactly what's happening. You have the right accounts in the system with the right personas. But I mean, that's what makes it fun, is pulling all that apart, all that mess that we're walking into, and figuring out what's the best approach for us to clean it up and get it to a stable foundation. And so I think as we look at, account-based marketing, audience-based marketing, keeping those things in the forefront of our mind when we're crafting these tech stacks is going to be key for our success in the future.
That's an excellent capstone to our conversation. Angela, thank you very much.